Nobody gets it. People will call me mentally ill, and I am, but that's beside the point. Anyway, let's watch another video before I lose viewers. Oh wait, already did. Ha, without checking, because literally I get no viewers. Because I'm not an industry plant. That is proof. One viewer, myself, equals not an industry plant. I should rename this channel to Not an Industry Plant. But then again, that would kind of sound... that would be a bit fishy though. Not gonna lie. Streamer few botting situation. Ah, the peanut guy is few botting. Huh. Would you look at that? Not everybody wants to watch a fucking peanut on their screen. Interesting. Might watch that after this video.
This category means you can earn again when you sell to tons of potential
Did I
buyers.
ask or something?
So go on, tidy Jaws.
She's an industry plant
sell
too.
pre-owned electronics today, all with no selling fees again. Don't use it, sell it.
Do you spend all day in meetings?
No, I spend all day inside, mate.
To back, to back, to back.
No, I
Learn how to
don't.
focus.
Bye.
There's a reason people get nostalgic for Windows XP. It was
True.
simple, it was clean, it got the job.
Well, people might get nostalgic for Windows XP like myself, but more than likely they more get nostalgia from what it could do. Play Crossfire in 2007. That was Windows XP, I think. It could play quite a lot of games, even the games that came on the PC, you know. It was a banger of a Windows place. You know, you could literally do a lot of things on it. Play Counter-Strike, play The Sims Complete Collection. Yeah, it was a great time. Greatest ever for video games, both on PC and on console. Remember the PlayStation 2? Ooh, chills, you know. FIFA 07, ooh, chills. When EA actually made good games, ooh, chills. When the Simpsons games were actually a thing, ooh, chills. You know. I remember. You know, I really am that old.
Done. In other words, it was everything that Windows 11 isn't. With its data harvesting, its inbuilt advertisements, and its bloatware, people are just getting sick of Windows 11 and Microsoft as well. As we lost the functionality and the clean UI, and in exchange, we got useless news and weather tabs along with mandatory AI. Unfortunately, the problems with Windows 11 are just the tip of the iceberg.
It's crazy because, like, in the past, we had little to no, like, technology or technical stuff. But somehow, with the limited technology back then, things were so much better than all the technology that we have nowadays. That's just wild, bruh. You think that would be the worst era ever? Not modern days. Nah. But here we are. Yeah, Windows 11. Boom. It's worse than Windows XP, it's worse than Windows 10, it's worse than Windows 9, it's worse than Windows 8, it's worse than Windows 7. It's the worst Windows I've ever fucking seen. And that's coming from somebody that glazes Microsoft. I even have an Xbox. That's how much I glaze them. But Windows 11... nah. I don't like it here. I want to go back to Windows 10. It seemed a lot better, a lot cleaner. The last good Windows, unfortunately. Yep. Because Windows 11's bum ass. You had to get that chip, didn't you, in your PC? Retiring my Windows 10 PC when Windows 10 shut down. You're lucky that I got a new job and I got onto Windows 11. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here today to say fuck Windows 11. You know? 100%. I remember when you didn't need that fucking AI chip shit in your PC to run Windows. You know, you forced me to buy a new PC. I didn't want to buy it because the one in the next room, it works perfectly. But you had to retire the Windows on it, making that vulnerable as I am when I talk to strangers. Literally, strangers can get into my head really easily that I probably would get kidnapped if I go outside. That's why I don't go outside. But yeah, you made me buy a new PC, a whole ass new rig, just because of that one chip that my old PC didn't have, and that PC was still in good working condition. Now it's just a dust collector. Thank you, Microsoft, you jackasses. I hope whoever like thought of Windows 11 after saying Windows 10 was the last Windows and lying to us, I hope you stubbed your toe so hard that it breaks and bleeds at the same time, simultaneously.
Microsoft as a whole doesn't care about their customers anymore. And this decay isn't because they dropped the ball, it's all part of their plan, a process that's been happening for years. In fact, nearly every corporation under the sun has been in on the game, and you have probably noticed the effects of this yourself. Maybe it's the clothes you wear feeling slightly cheaper, or the furniture you use barely lasting a year before it breaks. Even the food we eat has gotten smaller and more expensive.
Yeah, shrinkflation, man. Like, I hate it, bro. Foods that I used to think was bigger is now getting to my penis size. That is not good, my penis very tiny.
Covering the story of how it happened to Windows and Microsoft will tell us how this happened to everything else as well. And it might even tell us if it's ever going to stop. I mean, how much worse can things really get? Now, Microsoft has always
Don't say that question, because they will answer it really fucking quickly. Just keep your mouth shut on that question. Don't even ask that question, because believe me, somehow these fucking rich bitches will find a way to make it worse for everybody. So don't ask that question. You don't want the answer.
This is how they got so massive in the first place. Through a mixture of hard work and luck and smarts, Bill Gates turned one business contract into an entire industry. When IBM would...
It feels this good to be rated excellent.
Don't care. Didn't ask.
AJ Bell.
YouTube was better in the past.
Designing what would become the first big home computer in 1980, they approached Bill Gates and his small company Microsoft to create the operating system. IBM thought it was just a bit of software, and that they would own it once they had bought the rights. But sneaky Bill Gates made sure that wasn't what happened. A small clause in the contract let them sell their OS to other companies as well. So when IBM's computers took off, everyone wanted to create a competitive product. So they all turned to Microsoft as well, meaning that pretty much overnight, Microsoft and their software had become the norm. It was what people expected to get. Through a mixture of legally grey business deals and threats, Bill Gates made sure it stayed that way. He got an iron grip over the manufacturers, only letting them use his software if they signed exclusive contracts and shut out his competitors. Then once he had a monopoly over operating systems, he used it to sell their other software. Internet Explorer became so popular despite its clear problems because it came pre-installed on people's computers. The same thing worked with Microsoft Office and all their other software. It all made Microsoft so rich that they could buy out the competition and become a massive conglomerate. By the time the 2000s rolled around...
You know, it's crazy how he's talking about when Internet Explorer coming automatically on Windows, because look what we've got now. It's almost like we've got a older version, or a younger version rather, of Internet Explorer. What's that? Microsoft Edge for me, please. Yep.
Gates finally stepped down. They were absolutely massive.
Well said,
but
mate.
where could they take it next?
It only took two
Well,
stutters.
Steve Ballmer, the heir to the Microsoft throne, tried to shift the company's focus to hardware. Microsoft tried making their own PCs and mobile phones, expanding into the hardware market, but they never really got a proper foothold. It was a mixture of crushing failures and severely limited successes. The company was stagnant, and they couldn't use the same tricks they had before to get control over the market. The industry wasn't new enough. So Microsoft gave Ballmer a lot of time and a lot of room to work, but it just never turned around, and for nearly 15 years, Microsoft was simply dead in the water. They never lost their Windows monopoly, of course, but they never really gained anything else either. So when he eventually stepped down in 2014, the share prices actually went up by 10%. Because of his ownership stock, retiring made Steve nearly $1 billion overnight. One of the only parts of the company that was actually performing well in the early 2010s was their cloud computing services. The division had been growing quickly under the relatively new management of Microsoft veteran Nadella, where revenue increased by $4 billion in literally just under 3 years. Not many were surprised when he was named CEO in 2014, but they were surprised by what he did next, as he had a vision for Microsoft and its future. Instead of focusing on Windows or their other consumer-facing products, he was going to focus Microsoft on 3 new areas of the tech world. These were his old department of cloud computing along with virtual reality and artificial intelligence. Since then, Microsoft's share price has increased by 1000%. It's an absolutely staggering, insane number, and if you believe the hype, then it's all thanks to one man, Nadella. But to be more realistic, it wasn't all him. Microsoft had been riding a wave ever since he came to power, and they've done it by falling back on their old tricks, becoming the ultimate middleman in the tech world.
We create technology so that others can create more technology. That's who we are. We're a tool maker. And in a world right today where every walk of life and every industry is being shaped by digital technology, our original thesis is even more important, and I wanted to be in touch with it.
While the strategy didn't end up working that well for VR, it did lead to massive growth in cloud computing and later in AI as well. They could have stood by the sidelines. If Steve Ballmer were in charge, they probably would have been far less involved in the AI bubble. Instead, though, Nadella put all of his golden eggs in the AI cloud computing basket.
You're the guy that's stealing everybody's RAM. You're the guy responsible for Windows 11. I'm gonna crack that fucking egghead open and see if there's an egg inside, because it sure damn ain't a fucking brain.
Which let Microsoft take advantage of the unprecedented, almost unbelievable growth of tech companies in the past decades. But it wasn't just this vision that got Microsoft to grow again. This new CEO was also ruthless, far more ruthless than either of his predecessors ever were. Before 2014, mass layoffs had just been almost unheard of at Microsoft. The company culture was one of stability. It was a rare oasis in the tech world. Software engineers knew that Microsoft was a safe haven. The pay may be a bit lower, but you could expect much more stability. The ability to get a mortgage or settle down without worrying if you'd get cold in a year's time for shareholder optics. But in his first year, around 2014 and 2015, he fired around 18,000 people, which was 14% of the entire company at the time, which continued on with 8,000 in 2015, close to 5,000 the next year, and around 3,000 to 4,000 the year after that. But it wasn't because the company needed to save money, it was just to change the company culture. Instead of offering the carrot, Nadella was going to brandish the stick, and by regularly purging low performers, he put a fire under employees' feet and extracted every ounce of work that he could from them. And to be fair, judging him on the results, he's clearly a formidable CEO, equipped with an eerie ability to see into the future. But his overall strategy for the company really wasn't that unique, and it's just a game plan that all other companies in the last decade have used to skyrocket their stock price while extracting as much value as possible from their employees, and then their customers, and finally, from their business relationships. We're of course talking about a process known today as end-shitification. The term was coined by the technology blogger and author Cory Doctorow. In his recent book on the subject, he explains how it unfolds in online platforms in 3 easy steps. Step 1, first, platforms are good to their users. Step 2, then they abuse their users to make things better for business customers. Step 3, next they abuse their business customers to claw back all the value for themselves. Ironically, this is the very same process that happened to YouTube over the past.
Yeah, I can see that now, mate.
Suzuki Swift.
Get off my
Now
fucking
we-
screen, bitch.
Decade. In fact, YouTube might be so sensitive now to these words that we might have to call this platform decay instead. In his book, Cory goes through a few case studies and examples. He covers Amazon and how they monopolized e-commerce. Then he analyzes how they rip off the customers and the merchants today using that power. He then covers Facebook, Apple, Uber, Twitter, all doing the same things with their own monopolies. But those services are the backbones of those companies, and they still are today. However deep Amazon goes into Amazon Prime Video web services, the majority of their revenue will probably always come from e-commerce. Other companies like Reddit are even more top-heavy. They're almost completely focused on just their online platform. Microsoft is different though. Today, their revenue spread looks like this. Crucially, what you'll notice is that Windows now makes up less than 10% of their revenue. What's more, it's growing much more slowly than other parts of the company, meaning it'll probably be an even smaller percentage in just a few years' time. This all then means that other than maintaining their monopoly, Microsoft really doesn't care about Windows itself. They know how annoying it would be for you to switch right now, and they also care far less than they used to about Windows in general. This has let them take to platform decay far further than any other tech company has.
If they don't care, why the fuck did they care enough to make a whole new ass Windows, bro? Man, I hate them.
For decades, they focused on step one and kept Windows working cleanly and smoothly. We all remember how simple and easy it used to be on Windows 7 or Windows XP. That was back when the monopoly actually seemingly mattered to them. But in recent years, especially since Nadella came to power, that all changed and they began step 2 of the platform decay process. In fact, it actually played into its overall long-term goal for Microsoft itself, as we'll find out later. The release of Windows 8 was the first time that Microsoft intentionally added features that made Windows worse for their own gain. It was all based on the start screen. When you turn on your computer with Windows 8 running, you'd see this menu first instead of your normal desktop. People just hated it. While sort of useful on tablets or phones, it was just terrible for desktops. It was yet another obstacle to click through, to get to the desktop and actually use the useful parts of your own computer. But it was great for advertisements and for linking to other companies' websites. At the same time, they also released the Windows Store, and the UI of Windows 8 was designed to put it front and center. All the apps on the hated Windows 8 start screen were from the store, and it constantly pushed more of these apps onto people's faces. This is classic step 2 of the platform decay process, making the user experience worse to serve third-party business interests. In a major update later on, they sidelined the start menu and gave people the option to skip it entirely on startup. Back then, Windows was still a large part of the business, so they couldn't afford the negative reputation of just completely ignoring their customers. But this didn't really last. As the new CEO's vision saw cloud services expand massively, Microsoft started buying chips by bulk, using them to create massive server banks. Regular people, but also mostly other companies, then rent that server space to run their own code and store their own data. But demand grew so quickly that cloud services soon became their biggest revenue source by far. They were among the first to start the massive data center investment arms race. Microsoft was trying to build yet another monopoly, although other juggernauts like Amazon were also in the running. Meanwhile, Windows became a smaller and smaller part of the company. So small that they could practically do whatever they wanted. With no real competition to worry about, Microsoft was sure they could push people as hard as they liked. And Windows 11 is the culmination of this process. Years of platform decay have made it a shadow of its former self. The whole user experience is just terrible, and it begins before you've even installed it. First, there's the push for online-only installations and daily
Yeah, well, I fucking hated that. That took way too fucking long.
Recently, Microsoft made it harder for people to install.
Yeah, well, I hated this screen as well.
Windows 11 without attaching a Microsoft account. Now you need 2 separate commands to get past the Connect an Account page. Why did they do
I hated this too.
Oh, so they can sell you more stuff on the
screen.
installation page, like cloud storage for backups, or their
I
Edge
hate
browser,
this. I
or
hate
Microsoft
that. I hate this.
365,
I
or
hate
just a
that.
Game Pass subscription.
I hate this.
Once you've found all the hidden no boxes to check and you've actually got Windows installed, you might find that your PC is running slower than you expected, as Windows 11 uses a lot more RAM than its predecessors. This is partially due to a new technique they've quietly been focusing on called preloading. Instead of leaving most of Windows in your computer's main storage banks, Windows keeps lots of it ready to go and stored in your RAM instead. This makes it slightly faster when you want to open the File Explorer, for example, but it does come at a massive cost. RAM is precious. Compared to regular storage, you only have so much of it. Intensive programs like web browsers and games use tons of RAM. The search function in File Explorer is another example. It's plainly obvious people don't want to find web results or random advertisements when they search on their computer. They just want to find a specific file or program. Microsoft changed it anyway, hoping to push more users onto their own web browser or to satisfy their business customers with a few more clicks. But one of the biggest signs of platform decay in Windows is the bloatware. Now, when you install Windows, you get all sorts of other apps and shortcuts added in, like a tab for LinkedIn, another Microsoft subsidiary. or their new AI Copilot software, which now comes pre-installed. Pushing these other more profitable parts of the Microsoft conglomerate is the new purpose of Windows. They're cashing in their monopoly to try and sell people on their software for hire model of business. That's where the data centers come in. They're the infrastructure they need to eventually sell home computing as a subscription.
Give me a second, bruh. I don't even use Spotify or LinkedIn. Crazy. That is crazy, bruh.
While
Monzo Business is Britain's most recommended business bank account for overall service quality. Recommended.
Bye.
also selling vast amounts of space and processing power to AI companies as well. Once they have that in place, they can finally move on to step 3 and squeeze other companies as well. The scale is absolutely staggering. This year alone, Microsoft is spending $80 billion on these data centers. They're obsessed because the demand is getting so high. All the AI bubble startups and random companies need more and more computing power. In just one fiscal quarter, or about 3 months, revenue from these data centers jumped by 33%. This is why Nvidia is so massive now, and why Microsoft is so massive now. They're all just ballooned up. Because, to use a common analogy, Nvidia makes shovels for the gold rush and Microsoft buys them in bulk before renting them out to all the hopeful AI prospectors. This is what Nadella envisioned all those years ago. They are becoming the ultimate middleman now, with OpenAI reportedly aiming for a $750 billion valuation. That's a bit 20%. To many investors, it seems like the sun will just never set on the Microsoft empire. But maybe all of this is just a bit too good to be true. Is Microsoft big, or just massively overinflated? It isn't just that Nadella has taken all of Microsoft's eggs and put them in the AI basket. The market thinks he actually has 10 times more eggs than he did a decade ago. Then all of these possibly imaginary eggs have been out in the basket as well. If they ever drop the basket, if the bubble pops, the whole company would fall apart from the massive crushing loss. It's an even bigger problem for the AI companies that Microsoft owns, like OpenAI. Sam Altman has desperately been trying to push OpenAI into profitability, something he still hasn't managed and hasn't got anywhere near close to doing. It seems like only a miracle can take their around $4 billion revenue and make it match their $500 to $750 billion valuation. This same logic also applies to all of the AI companies that are currently buying server space from Microsoft. If the bubble does pop soon, they nearly all go under and Microsoft is left without any customers.
And it makes you wonder why billionaires would risk their whole company on AI, bruh. They are literally risking going broke, or what they want to do is get richer at the expense of our RAM, bro. So yeah, it's like, bro, would we do better without these companies? Maybe, because I don't think is it Linux? I don't think they are doing anything with AI. Or maybe they are, I don't fucking know. I don't know much about the Penguin website, the Penguin OBS or operating system, whatever. So yeah. So if Microsoft went under and Google went under, yeah, we've still got Twitch and Kick. So don't need YouTube anymore. I'll just react to things on Twitch and Kick simultaneously. Like picture in picture, like have like 10,000 pictures across my screen. So good riddance to YouTube. Microsoft, do I really need you? Probably not. Because if you went under, someone else would take your place probably, because you're replaceable. So maybe we don't even need you, Microsoft. So now I'm rooting for AI to fail, just to get all these fucking monopoly companies out the way, and then Sony can make a operating system. That would be pretty cool. Sony, you listening? Nintendo, you listening? Yep. I think they'd do it better. Low key, bruh.
There's the problem that they don't have a monopoly. There's Google, X, Meta, Apple, even OpenAI if they get out from under Nadella's iron grip. There's already so many competitors for the AI crown, all of which have unique advantages over Microsoft. And even if AI does turn out to be the massive industrial revolution that the tech world seems to believe in,
It gets
doesn't
worse for us.
guarantee Microsoft's future either if someone else wins the race. And finally, even if they do survive the bubble, they might have lost the one thing they could always rely on. Windows has become so awful, so decayed that people are actually beginning to switch. Take a look at this chart, first shared on Reddit by user Still the Age. It covers the last 5 years of the operating system market among Steam users, based on their annual hardware surveys. While Linux remained stagnant for years, it has actually finally begun gaining market share, almost tripling from 1% to 3%. Then
It would really be GG if we get an operating system on Steam. Because all you have to do is install a button and then you're no longer with Windows, you're with Steam instead. That'd be pretty cool. Because I would switch in a heartbeat.
you have to consider that the Steam Box and Steam OS are on their way, and they will be the first real competitors Microsoft has had in years, and Valve could really take a chunk out of them. It's a massive potential market, and you've got all the people who don't want to pay a monthly subscription to use the computer they already own, all the people just sick of Microsoft in general. And so while Microsoft is more massive than ever before, it's also in danger of collapsing entirely. If it did, it would teach all the other companies a huge lesson. You can decay your platform as much as you like, whether that's selling software or just selling chocolate bars. But if you ever get any real competition again though, and there's no AI bailout to save you, then you can lose everything.
Yeah, I don't know why they risk their whole livelihoods for a bit of AI, bruh. Like, nobody needs or asks for artificial intelligence. We just need them in video games, that's it. We don't need them in everyday life, bruh. Half the stuff that I type on Gemini is not stuff that I need to know, you know? Half the stuff is just some weird conversations that I have with Gemini that I'm not gonna expose. And I hope I never get exposed for if there was a data leak, because it would be GG, it would be Jova for me. All my family would think that I'm weird, I can't even feel safe inside my own home. Time to go 6 feet under, I guess, at that point.